There's James Clapper, former Director of National Intelligence, speaking on Capitol Hill. Critical series of hearings this week. You see Andrew McCabe, the acting FBI director, as well. The Senate Intelligence Committee is going to continue its investigations now. We're joined by the top Democrat on that committee, Senator Mark Warner of Virginia. Senator, thank you for coming and joining us this morning. First big question, is this firing of Director Comey going to infect your investigation?
It's not going to affect it, but let's step back for a minute and look at what happened this past week. I thought this administration could no longer surprise me, but boy, it surprised me this week. You had Sally Yates testify, the former acting attorney general, that the administration had not taken her information about General Flynn in an appropriate manner. You had the firing of the FBI director 2 days before he was supposed to testify before my committee. And while, yes, the president can fire an FBI director gets a 10-year term, so they're not subject to political interference. And unfortunately, I think you've seen that political interference because the White House itself switched stories midweek and said, yes, the president said he was going to fire Trump regardless of what the deputy attorney general has said because of the Russia investigation. And then at the end of the week, you have this very bizarre statement by the president that there may exist private tapes, and we want to make sure those tapes are preserved because we're going to want to take a look at them in Congress.
Do you think there are tapes?
Wild week. Listen, I don't have the foggiest idea whether there are tapes or not, but the fact that the president made allusions to that and then the White House would not confirm or deny, it is not anything that we've seen in recent days.
If there are tapes, will you try to subpoena them?
Absolutely. You know, now it may be appropriate for a different committee rather than the Intelligence Committee, but first of all, we got to make sure that these tapes, if they exist, don't mysteriously disappear. So I've asked, others have asked to make sure the tapes are preserved if they exist.
Do you think the president, he also had that statement about having Russia in mind when he thought of firing Comey, do you think he's trying to throw roadblocks in the face of these investigations?
George, I'm not going to try to infer what's in the president's mind, but it was very strange that they said at first they fired Comey because of a memo from the deputy attorney general, a memo that frankly didn't pass the smell test because it said they were going to fire Comey because of how he treated Hillary Clinton. That's a little bit laughable. Then he acknowledged it was because Comey was investigating Russia. Then we had the president, in effect, kind of criticized Comey as he's criticized other intelligence community leaders, which is frankly, and I think General Clapper will probably address this as well, is not good for morale in our intel community. So what was on the president's mind, I don't know, but I do know that we're going to get to the bottom of this regardless. We're going to follow the facts. Chairman Burr and I have determined that. And the good news I saw this week was that Acting Director McCabe of the FBI has said he's going to put all the resources needed behind this investigation. It is a top priority for them, and they are not going to be dissuaded as well.
James Comey declined your invitation to appear in closed session this Tuesday. Some reports that he wants to appear in public session. Have you invited him to an open hearing?
We would love to have Director Comey appear in an open hearing. I think Jim Comey deserves his chance to lay out to the American public his side of the facts because how he was treated was pretty awful by this president.
You say he was treated pretty awfully. It is true, however, that a lot of Democrats thought before this week that James Comey should go. Senator Schumer said he'd lost confidence in James Comey. You heard Hillary Clinton blame her loss in part on what James Comey did. Does the president have a right to feel that Democrats have turned around on this?
Listen, George, I can't speak for other Democrats. I've always had confidence in Jim Comey. I think he made some mistakes last fall, but I've never lost that confidence. I know him. I think he's a straight shooter, and I think it's pretty remarkable, virtually unprecedented. One, that an FBI director is fired this way. Two, an FBI director is being fired when he was leading the investigation into ties between Trump officials and the Russians. To fire him mid-investigation, boy, oh boy, that raises a whole lot of questions.
Your predecessor on the Intelligence Committee, Senator Dianne Feinstein, and the number 2 Democrat in the Senate, Senator Durbin from Illinois, have both said that the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, should resign if he doesn't appoint a special counsel for the Russia investigation. Do you agree?
I saw Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein this week. I said how disappointed I was with his actions, the fact that he had this memo that frankly was laughable. And I think the best thing that Rosenstein can do to protect his preserve his reputation and actually do the right thing for the country is appoint this special prosecutor.
What is the status of your investigation right now? You've put out subpoenas now to General Flynn. You're looking for documents financial documents from the Treasury Department on President Trump's income, investments, business dealings. What do you make of the fact fact that we had this letter this week from President Trump's lawyers saying that he had no income, debt, or equity investments from Russians. Is the committee investigating whether that's true? Do you accept it at face value?
George, that letter was about as carefully crafted legalese as I've ever seen. The remarkable thing was the letter was drafted and dated in March. He releases it now. To my mind, it raises more questions than it answers. And the truth is, I haven't thought that Trump has that many investments in Russia. I think it's the converse. How much Russian money has flooded in to Trump organizations, propped up Mr. Trump's organizations after the crisis, because that we don't have the answer to, and that's why we've asked the Treasury Department, the so-called FinCEN division, to provide all that information to the committee.
And finally, have you seen any evidence so far that President Trump or his associates were colluding with Russia during the campaign?
George, I'm not going to talk about where we are specifically at this moment, but boy, oh boy, there's an awful lot of smoke. I'm not saying there's fire at this point, but we're going to follow the facts wherever they lead.
Senator Warner, thanks for joining us this morning.